welcome to Little Learners. We have reached the time of year when teachers across the country and possibly even across the globe, although I can't guarantee that because I'm not sure, start to find out what year group they will be teaching come September. This can be a really anxious time for many teachers for different reasons. First of all, not knowing where you're going to be in September is scary, to be honest with you, especially for a new teacher who hasn't got as much experience as some older teachers, some more experienced teachers. Changing year group, changing class may mean that you need to change classroom, which is a nightmare because as a teacher you really put your heart and soul into your classroom, decorating it, making it yours. It becomes almost like your second home. And so to have to kind of pick all of that up and start it in another place can be quite stressful. You have to spend a lot of time setting up your new classroom and moving everything over there. It just makes things a lot more complicated. Of course, also teaching a different year group, particularly a year group that you've never taught before, means that there are a lot of new things that you need to start thinking about and maybe even learning. So for example, if you've been teaching the same year group for 3 years, you have pretty much been doing the same thing on rotation for 3 years. Of course, as teachers, we are always evolving our practice, so things are always improving, always getting better, we're always coming up with some slightly different versions of things. But by your 3rd year of teaching a year group, you kind of know the drill. So to change year group and to know that you're going to be doing different topics and you're going to need to be teaching in a slightly different way. There's going to be slightly different learning styles. There might even be exams that you need to get children prepared for. That can be quite a nerve-wracking thing. For new teachers, newly qualified teachers, teachers who haven't even started teaching yet, you may be finding out now what year group you're going to teach because you've been to an interview, or you may be going for interviews now and not entirely knowing what year group you're going to end up in. Whether you are a brand new teacher or a teacher who has lots of experience, if you have never taught in reception before, finding out you're about to teach in reception can give you mixed feelings. So it's great to evolve your practice, to learn more, but at the same time, if you've never done it before, it's a different curriculum. The children are very young, they've never been to school before, so it can be quite a challenge. So I'm going to start off here by telling you my experience of teaching reception for the very first time. So just before I started teaching, I was doing my third teaching practice in an infant school, and I really loved it. I was teaching year 2 at the time, and a job opening came up and I went for it. Fortunately, I got the job, and the idea was that I would be teaching in Key Stage 1, so year 1 or year 2. The thought process kind of with everyone involved was that they weren't going to need anyone in reception, which was important for me because during my teacher training, I did a postgraduate certificate in education. We did not get early years training, so we had kind of national curriculum training, which starts from age 5 all the way through to age 11, so year 1 to year 6. Reception comes under the EYFS or Early Years Foundation Stage framework, which is a different kind of curriculum. And I didn't have experience in that because they didn't teach us that on our PGCE. So the idea of going into reception was kind of a no-go for me. Fast forward about a month or so after I got my job and I was told, you will be in reception. And I am not proud of this, but after I left the office, I walked up to the staff room where no one else was and burst into tears. I was terrified. I didn't know what I was going to do. Should I decline the job now? Do I have time to look for another one? I'm not going to be able to teach in reception. I don't know what I'm doing and they're really little, and I didn't really think of myself as teaching really little children. Actually, I was going to start in infants and maybe go up to juniors, but I really liked kind of the year 1, year 2 especially. So this was a difficult time for me, realising that I still had a lot to learn. Obviously, if I'd been teaching in the year groups that I thought I would be, I would still have a lot to learn, but reception seemed like a world away from what I had been preparing for the past year. Of course, lots of people around me told me I was being ridiculous, including my husband, my parents, my friends, everything will be fine, everything will be fine. And spoiler alert, everything was fine. So I had a lot of anxiety about this. So I still had some time at my teaching practice, and I went in and spent some time with reception, and then once I'd finished my teaching practice, I went in for what my school called a golden hello, which is sort of a couple of weeks working in the year group that I'm going to go into. So I got to spend some time in reception, kind of see how things work. It was a little bit alien to me, I have to admit, but the overall arch of teaching was there. If you're a teacher, you knew what to look for. You knew what the teachers were doing with the children. You knew what the children were doing. It did make sense to me. However, it felt a lot less structured to me. There was a lot of just free flow playing, and I didn't really understand how teachers could have so many different activities going on all at once, and they're working with a group, and they're looking out at this other thing, and it was crazy to me. So I decided, this is what's going to happen, and so I need to prepare myself. So the first thing I did was make sure that I brushed up on the Early Years Foundation Stage Statutory Framework, the EYFS framework. And this is the early years curriculum, for lack of a better word. And this involves a lot of differences between early years and later on in school. There is more of an emphasis on personal, social and emotional development. It's not just English, maths and science. It's a lot of how children develop as a person, how they can handle their emotions, their behaviour, and of course a lot of reception at the beginning especially is teaching children how to go to school. They've never been to school before. Some of them may have been to nursery, which is also part of early years, but that's not compulsory. So for some of the children that I taught, this was their very first experience of school. So setting up those routines was key, and I kind of had to think about how I was going to do that. I was also very fortunate that I had a very experienced TA. So my teaching assistant had been in early years in reception for quite a while, so she knew what was going on, which was great. I kind of was able to bounce off of her, learn from her. It's very important to appreciate your TAs. I only had her in the morning, I didn't have anyone in the afternoon, but it really did help me to set up my day. So I decided that once I had kind of brushed up on the EYFS, I would then decide kind of what resources I needed. I went into my classroom during the summer and looked at everything that was there. I got rid of a few things because all the other teachers were having clear outs of their classroom, but because I'd never done reception before, I didn't know what I would need and what I wouldn't. So I couldn't really get rid of anything until I'd done a whole year in reception and knew, okay, we don't use that anymore. That's actually missing a piece. So my classroom was, I suppose, a little bit more full at that point, but I had a really big cupboard that I could just shove things into. So the way of working in reception was something that I had to adjust to, and I mentioned earlier that I felt like reception had less structure, but oh no, I was so wrong. There is so much structure in reception. So much to the point that, I like to have things in boxes, and this was perfect for me. So even though there were all of these activities going on at once, and it meant that I had to set them all up in the morning, I knew exactly what was happening, where, and what learning objective each table or each activity had, so that the children would be getting a really broad education around whatever kind of topic we were doing, because my school was topic based. I quickly came to realise that I loved teaching reception, and I loved teaching children who were 4 and 5 years old. They have such an enthusiasm for life and for learning. They are so excited about anything you tell them. Tell them you're about to learn about fractions and they will just jump up and down, excited, cheering, even though they have no idea what you're talking about. You could be teaching them what you consider to be the most boring thing ever, but as long as you make it seem fun, they will have fun, and they are so keen to learn, so inquisitive. It was wonderful. And I think one of the things I was really worried about, because I have a really low immune system, was catching germs. Because these children are, you know, snotty. They don't wash their hands when they go to the toilet. Some of them still can't use the toilet that well, and it's just, they're little and they will pick up every kind of bug going. And yes, in my first year of teaching, I was sick a lot, but I made sure that I fit this into my teaching. So fairly early in the year, I gave a big lesson about germs and how they spread. If you want to see a video on how to deliver that lesson, let me know in the comments below. And how children can stop them from spreading. We did a big day about it, and it really helped actually. I also heavily invested in antibacterial hand wash. I kind of had to take things week by week, and what I mean by that is I needed to take the week I was teaching, kind of day by day, structure it out and just take it day by day, and then also be planning for the next week. So obviously we'd meet on, I think we would meet on a Monday afternoon at that point and plan the next week's lessons. So I would have all of that planned, but I would have my head in the week that I was actually teaching. Take it day by day, take it week by week, and you will learn so much. These children are incredible, and it is such a gift to be teaching them. There are definitely some struggles with it, but I promise you, it will be so rewarding. If you are about to start teaching reception for the very first time, let me know in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, if you found it helpful. These thumbs up really do help out my channel, so thank you very much for those. If you are not already subscribed, be sure to hit the subscribe button and click the little bell icon so every time I post a video, you see it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.